Well, hello out there, words for change. I know you're happy to be with me. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Lionel. I am a friend to many, a confidant to a very few, and I help people through spiritual growth, personal growth, leading to social change. But before we get to social change, I hold to this one true motto: nothing changes until you change first. That's what we do. And I do that through podcasting, public speaking, workshops, through one-on-one counseling, and so many other different formats. And so if you always want to know, if you want to know, you want to get connected, not if you always know, but if you want to know how to connect with me more, just make sure you hit the subscribe button, send me a message. All my information is there for you. I want to connect with you. All right, so we got a great show that's coming to you momentarily. But before we do, go ahead and hit that smash that like button. Grab your cup of coffee, your favorite drink, so we can get rolling. Y'all ready? Let's go. All right, here we go. We're here. Hey, Susan, what's happening?
Oh my gosh, Lionel, that was like an incredible opening.
That was cool, yeah. We put some work into this thing. We love what we do. You know what I'm saying? I'm super excited about interviewing you, being with you, especially that I found out that you have experience as a triathlete. We have something in common, right? We both, did sports and so forth and so on. So yeah, that's cool. So how you doing today?
I am as excited as you are almost to be here.
Is the energy too much? I can I can
No,
I
I
can
love
cool it
it.
down. All right.
You know,
So listen, I tell you what. Go ahead on and just I am there's so many things I want to ask you. And I know that people are listening are like, man, how do you know this person? Well, me and Susan just met each other, but I feel like there's some kind of connection we have. So I want people to know who you are, but I got some questions I want to ask you to kind of break the ice a little bit. You cool with that?
yeah, let's try it.
What's your favorite color?
Green,
Green. All right. All right. What's your favorite food or restaurant?
pasta, pasta.
Pasta. Uh,
My
that's
kitchen
athletic.
is my favorite. Yeah, my kitchen is my favorite restaurant. I don't like to go
Oh,
out so
really?
much.
You cook a
Yeah,
lot?
yeah. Oh, I'm terrible. My partner cooks.
All right. Okay. So, what's your favorite book or your quote you live by? Favorite book or quote you live by?
Well, I'll just give you a quote.
Yeah.
The answer is yes
Mm.
until it is no.
Ooh. The answer. Oh wow. I got to think about that for a minute.
It's
Wow.
deep, right?
Very. Yeah. Wow. Answer is no until. Okay. All right.
No, no, no. Answer. No, 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 no.
I'm
Lionel,
writing
Lionel,
it
Lionel.
down, Susan.
The answer is yes, Lionel, until it is no. Do you know how much opportunity I've gained just following that little
Mm.
one-liner?
Ooh. I got it. I just wrote it down. The answer is yes
Yes.
until there's a no. All right. Okay.
Hmm.
All right. So, what's your favorite state
Oh
in the
my gosh,
U.S.?
Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania
PA?
came to mind. I don't know why. I just spit that right out. I grew up there and couldn't wait to get out. Here I am loving Pennsylvania. Jeez.
Oh man. I'm from Texas.
Oh, okay. So is that your favorite state though?
Well, my favorite state is New York because I like lights, camera, action. I love that. I love that kind of stuff. I've always had uh, just a natural love for the lights, the big city, the movement, the energy. It just excites me for sure.
Yeah, you and me
Uh,
both. We are similar. I couldn't
yeah.
wait to get to New York City growing up. I couldn't wait.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah.
Okay. So here's my last and final question.
Oh, I feel sad. I wish there were more.
I like you. This is good. This is good. Okay. So if you had one person to meet on earth, if one person, who would that be?
Harriet
One person.
Tubman.
Really?
Harriet Tubman. Yeah.
Wow. Why Harriet Tubman? Like,
I, j-
why?
I just, that woman, I don't know, maybe I was her in a past life, but
Mm,
just her tenacity, her bravery, her compassion, her fearlessness, her determination, her strength. Yeah,
mm.
Harriet Tubman. Wild, right?
Wow. No, that's awesome. That's awesome. My number one person would be Martin Luther King Jr. for sure, hands down. Yeah. Okay. So Susan, what are we talking about today?
I don't know, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to call you Lionel. I really want to call you Reverend, but
Why?
I'm
Did
going
you
to
grow
break
up in a
down.
religious home or something?
Oh, super duper religious. Yeah.
Oh. So what was that experience like? Was it was
Well,
it like
it was great for the discipline and it
mm,
was great for the faith, but it
mm,
was really fluffed up, Lionel, when it came to the patriarchal system. And
yeah, yeah.
I would sit in the pew and I just knew some of
Mm.
that stuff was mixed up and mislabeled.
Wow. So it was a negative experience for you then? Maybe?
Not all of it, not all
Mm.
of it, but
Mm-hmm.
it was,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a big part of my life. But
Yeah.
like the guilt I had for knowing, Sister Consuelo was teaching the first communion class, and
Mm.
she pointed her finger right at me, and that finger was round like a sausage, and she was
Wow.
short and stout and like holding it together
Mm.
and about 4'8", and just stuck that sausage finger right at me on that hard, cold metal chair with that
Mm.
gray flecked linoleum floor beneath my little patent leather shoed feet. And she said, "You caused God's son to die. It was you, and he will
Mm.
never forgive you for that." Dude, I was
Wow.
like in my 50s when I realized I was still living with that shame and horror.
Wow. Wow. So what were you was this what was the religious affiliation? Was it
Oh
Catholic
well,
or
yeah, I'm going to
okay.
leave you to guess, and your
Okay.
viewers can guess. Name
Okay,
that
okay.
name that man-made religion.
Name that man-made religion. You know, that's a man that was sealed into your mind experiences like that. Did you have more than one of those kind of experiences, or was it just repetitive?
Oh, it was many of those experiences,
Mm,
and I didn't believe that to be true. It felt flawed to me. And then I stepped away for a minute and I tried to go back. This was in college.
mm,
But it just felt hypocritical. Yeah,
mm.
just some of it just felt messed up.
Wow, wow. So, wow. So, Susan, where are you? You're originally from PA, right? Pennsylvania. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yeah, I grew up in central Pennsylvania. It was football country, Lionel.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. For sure. For sure. For sure. And so, for those who are listening, would you be so kind to just tell the folks who you are? What they know your name, Suzanne Gold, which is an awesome name. It's like really awesome name. That sounds like a professional, like world class name, Suzanne Gold. I kept thinking about putting like a little gold plated background to your name to kind of make it pop a little bit. But yeah, let folks know who you are
Is
for
it
those.
too late? Is it too late to do the
I
gold
can't.
plating?
I'm not that fast. I can't do it. It won't look good. I promise you, I'll mess something up. But let folks know who you are. You know who you
Sure.
are, and
So
what you do. Yeah, please do.
yeah. So I'm an author. I'm a first time author. I just published, or I didn't publish it. My publisher published my memoir. And I grew up in a very small town in central Pennsylvania. I was the middle of five kids with two pseudo adults doing the best they could at the helm. And it was so good. I left the morning after I graduated from high school and I rarely went back, Lionel.
Wow, wow. So what was your journey like after high school?
I just made it happen. I had
Mm,
angels all around me. They did
mm,
not leave my side. I could not wait to get to New York City. I used to watch Barbara Walters on my beanbag chair in my basement in my belly. And I was like, I'm going to go to New York and be like that woman. And I
mm.
got myself to New York and I needed a little side job. So I started personal training. And guess who was my client, Lionel?
Who was that?
Barbara Walters.
What?
Dude.
Barbara Walters. Wow.
Yeah.
How was that? How was it working with Barbara Walters? Walters,
So
sorry.
first, she's a girl's girl. She would have loved you. She's just really was fun and very intuitive, and she was a gifted interviewer for a reason. I rang her doorbell at 7 a.m. one morning, and she's like, "Susan, get in here. What is going on?"
Wow. Wow.
And she got it out of me. I was working for an agent. It was
Mm,
he and I in a studio apartment. He had
mm-hmm.
left the large talent agency I was assisting him at and asked me to join him. And I did because I knew I'd learn how to negotiate talent deals. And it was a huge
Mm,
opportunity. But he had a little sexual addiction and used to invite young actresses in and excuse me and then tried the same thing on me that he was trying on them. And I grabbed my stuff and ran out of there and was still rattled the next morning. And Barbara said to me, I'm coming with you this morning and we're confronting this gentleman.
mm-hmm.
And I said, thank you so much. I think I've got it covered. And I
Mm.
did confront him that day. And he said, do you have all your stuff? And I'm like, yep. And he goes, great, you're fired. See ya.
Wow.
So yeah, I had probably two and
Mm,
a half months of money in the bank, and I was 25, living in
mm,
New York City on my own. I had just extricated myself from an abusive relationship,
mm.
and I'm embarrassed to say I was in it because the gentleman was holding the purse strings, but I had to face facts and stood up and opened my own talent brokerage firm. My first deal was to go down to the factory and knock on the door and convince Andy Warhol to do a commercial for Pontiac
Wait,
with a.
wait. Did you did you
Oh my
just
gosh, you
say
had no idea what you were getting into.
wait. Did you just say what I thought? Did you just say Andy Warhol? Did I just hear that come out of your mouth?
You did.
Okay, if you guys, okay, first of all, if you don't know who Andy, just go Google Andy Warhol. Okay, probably if not, what would you say? How would you describe Andy as a person who you've met? Andy. I like Jean Basquiat, like so. I liked his art. So
Yeah,
he got his inspiration, right? He worked with. So
Andy,
how was
yeah.
that experience working with a genius in the art world?
Well, first of all, I couldn't get
Wow.
anybody to answer at the factory, so I had to schlep down there on the subway and knock on the door. And Fred, Andy's manager, answered, and I told him why I was there. And he said,
Yeah.
"Come back tomorrow at the same time. I'll let you talk to Andy." So I did, and I was sitting
Mm,
in the little foyer they had in the brownstone, and all of a sudden these double doors open, and it was dark in there, Lionel. I was like
mm.
scared to go in there, and and he's
Wow.
like, Andy will see you now. I'm like, okay. So I go in there and
Wow.
there's this like pin spotlight coming down on this platinum hair that's going seven different directions. And he's scribbling with colored pencils and like intensely. And
Mm,
these three pugs are running around the studio and they're grabbing on his pants leg and he's picking up the pugs and he could care less about why I was there and what I was
mm.
yammering on about. He didn't even look me in the eye, Lionel. And then finally, he's like,
Wow.
stops. He looks up. He looks me in the eye, which is a little scary. And he said, now, really, why should I do this? And I paused.
Mm,
And I said, because you can have the pugs in the shot with you.
Mm.
And he's like, all right, I'll do it.
Done. Done deal.
Yeah.
So how were you composed like talking to him? Like what was the like I'm just interested to know, were you familiar with him before? You had this
Well,
meeting?
I knew who he was, but I
Yeah.
had never met him. Just like I never met Walt Frazier. Like I
Mm.
had a limo ride down Fifth Avenue with him, taking him to some gig I booked. I,
Mhm.
you know, I don't know what it is. I had a lot of training as a classical dancer, which gave me
Mm.
poise and
Mm.
composure.
Mm.
And also, you never knew what was going to fly at you, literally, in my
Right.
household. I was
Mm.
also quite intuitive. It was a survival skill.
Mm.
And I was a super, and still am, a super empath. So I can sort of read the energy of people.
Mm.
Um, and I can feel pain. I can feel joy. I can feel, uncertainty in people.
Mm.
It's very simple, and it's fun for me. So, and celebrities are no different than you and me. They put their pants legs on one at a time. They just have to do it in public,
Yeah.
right?
But there's something about meeting celebrities, people who have accomplished great things, or people that you maybe admire. You admire their work, you admire their contributions to humanity, and not only do you admire it, but there are millions of other people who admire. So man, I've met some. I've never met people. Well, maybe, but I've met some Louis Gossett Jr., Denzel Washington. And my experience with them was very, very welcoming, warm. Um, they it's almost like, hey, yeah, man, I love to talk to you. Very, very low key. I met some entertainers before, obviously some athletes. So one of the things that always stuck with me is that they wanted to hear everything I said from the very beginning of my being introduced to them. In other words, they didn't say anything. They just stopped, greeted, and they just waited for me to talk. And I don't know if that's kind of like it kind of throws you off, right? Like you said, I can read energy as well. I do not consider myself an empath. I have very little knowledge about that. Although one of my friends also considers herself an empath. So, but sometimes the energy that I get when I meet these individuals, it's almost as if the way they control that energy when they interact with you is something to be admired, right? You know that they're typically busy people or have a lot going on in their lives, and they're going from one person to the next, right? One person to the next. And so it always caught me sort of by surprise, even though having met famous or well-known people before, the response was always the same. They'd look at me, greet me, and just wait for me to talk. Sometimes I'm still starstruck, right? I'm like, okay, hi. And then you fumble over your words as you go. So, uh, tell us a little bit about, your experience, as much as you would love to tell about how you grew up, what led you to the path that you are right now. How did you begin this path, which is a really interesting story. We're going to talk about your book and as an author and what you do there. But what's your what gives for you? What motivates you? Like, what is it that makes up Suzanne Gold?
Well, that's not a light question.
Well, yeah, we're gonna dive in, right? Yeah, yeah,
honestly, honestly, I'm a
yeah.
human being here to experience this intense, ecstatically beautiful, incredibly pain filled world.
Mm,
And I am interested in knowing other people, and I am interested in sharing soothing and
mm.
peace and kindness. And I want to know your story before I share mine.
You want
But
you
usually,
want to you want to know. So those who are listening, right?
hmm
When they meet you,
hmm
as you're signing your book for them, when they
hmm
meet you, you want to know their story.
totally, totally. And I'm much more interested in the everyday person's story than I am in squiring Steven Spielberg around the set,
Mm,
honestly.
mm, mm. Why is that important to you? Why is it important that you know people's story?
Because I think I've walked through a lot of pain. I've faced abuse of every sort.
Mm,
And I think that's not uncommon. And I think it's something that remains, Lionel, fairly closeted. I'm
mm,
okay. Everything's fine. I'll get through this. I'm going to
mm,
make it. And I think that there's a need for an outlet. And actually, I find our stories reverend and holy and sacred. And I believe I came to this world specifically to be born into the family that I was born into, to have the parents that I did, to have the siblings that I did, to have the experiences that I did. And honestly, they were born into the families that they were. I mean, this was in the lineage,
mm,
hurt and abused children
mm,
raising hurt and abused children. And I believe that I came to walk through that
mm.
and to find healing for it and freedom and not replicate that further.
Yeah. So, what was the? Would you mind maybe sharing maybe one of your experiences for listeners and people who are watching? Right, they're wanting to make a connection with you. So, what is an experience that you've gone through and learned from? And my hope is that someone listening and watching will make that connection. Because people are dealing with all kinds of things: depression, suicide ideation. As a matter of fact, I just got a phone call right before we connected here about someone who was found on a in a at the hospital going through the emergency. So as soon as I leave here, I'm going to the hospital to see someone. So people are going through all kinds of issues and traumas, and they don't know how to get through it. What would you? I mean, how can they make that connection with you? How can you help them? Give them some advice.
Well, first of all, I have suffered with clinical depression. I have trauma still trapped in the cells of my being from
Mm,
my past, and not just my childhood and adulthood, too. I think, it's part of being a human being. Some of us have more of it than others, and some of us have better coping skills. But I had to understand it first. I had to
mm,
understand that that was part of my trajectory, and I had to accept it. And then
mm,
I got help for it, and
mm,
then I came to understand how to work with it.
mm,
And I would say the pinnacle experience where everything got brought together and I was truly tested was when the man that I loved, who I consider my greatest guru, his mask dropped.
mm.
And he folded his arms and his eyes went into those lizard like slits. And he said, "I'm hiring an attorney and I'm filing for divorce." And
Oh.
it was a year of hell while he stayed in the master bedroom of a home I had bought, purchased, and maintained for our family, while I was on a mattress on the
Mm,
floor of a partial conversion in the garage. And that was the metaphor for the marriage. And that was what I was allowing because I was afraid to step fully into my power and not rely on the codependent behavior of feeling like I needed a man to survive.
Mm.
And the last 2 months of that circumstance got really heated. I'm a longtime meditator. I know how to hold silence. And to get through this circumstance, I had to hold silence and no eye contact, meaning no physical eye contact
Mm.
for 1 year while we shared the same structure. I can't even call it a home then. And I had to be strong and step up. And all my training, all that endurance, athleticism, I had to hold that focus and I had to trust. And that little partial conversion in the garage, I had to create that as my monastery and I had to go in. And I could not point the finger out and I could not become a victim to what I saw as really unjust circumstances. I had to stand up and I had to see why I was in that circumstance. And then I had to step up and be willing to do what it took to extricate myself, completely riddled with fear. And I did have that suicidal depression come up again. And luckily, I had experience. So I set up a friend for each day of the week and
Mm.
I would make a call. And if I was suicidal and that person wasn't available, I made a commitment to call the next person on the list and get
Mm.
help. And that's what brought me through the tail end of that circumstance. And within 1 calendar year, I was able to write the 6 figure check. And that gentleman went on and found his next source of supply.
Mm. Man, that's does it make you uncomfortable having that conversation? At least reliving that or
I'm
talking with me?
I'm happy to share it because I know there's somebody listening that needs help and they need strength to stand up. And I needed to hear other people's stories on how they got through. And the other thing that makes me feel uncomfortable is sharing the truth about who the man that I loved and supported for over 15 years
Mm.
truly is. But I do see him as a guru. I appreciate the lesson that he delivered. I do not engage with him, but I don't wish him ill and I don't even hold him responsible. He can't see any differently. He's doing the best he can. And I
Mm.
have tremendous gratitude for the role that he played, just like I have tremendous gratitude for the roles my parents played in my little movie. It's helped
Mm.
me step up. Do you know how much soul evolution I've had on this life journey? I think
Mm.
next time I'll read the fine print, dang it.
Well, the what comes to my mind is there's a lot to unpack there, right? I mean, for as you were talking and telling your story, my mind just began to imagine the pain, the isolation, the loneliness of maybe some moments of confusion, anger. I mean, you probably went through every emotion of, you know, and then, there's trust, there's doubts, there's lies, there's so much going on, how did you find it? I mean, like, I think it's a great idea you had people on standby, so to speak, that you could reach out to when you needed, and then you had someone else in the wing in case your first or second choice wasn't available. So I think that's a great concept, and I hope our listeners, if you're going through something like that, then that's a great lesson, a great example of getting the help you need and going through the process. Was it difficult to I just wonder, was it difficult to let some people know what you were going through?
I felt
I mean, was the
shame.
reputation, or like was that, obviously you're a gifted individual. You've done some great things, are doing some great things, have interacted with some great people. Were you concerned about your reputation? In other words, I don't want people to know that I'm having this experience.
So I've been really honest and straightforward, but I also know who it's safe to be open with, who can sort of handle it and who can't. And I've been careful with those boundaries, very careful. There was shame around it, especially, there's no avoiding that circumstance. It took that kind of billboard to fall on my head to really wake me up to what the truth was and what I was carrying to feel okay. So I think it was embarrassing to reveal that, but ultimately, I was inspiring people.
Right. So did you? So it's so you said something as well. You was like, "Hey, I don't even blame the person who did this." You gotta break that down. How did you get to that place? You actually referred to this person as a. Did you say? Did you use the word mentor or guru?
I did,
Come on,
Lionel.
you gotta, Susan.
Yeah,
You gotta help us with that.
yeah, yeah, I did. And that is really how I feel. I mean, look at me, Lionel.
Mm,
Most people would still be in victim and martyr mode, and I'm not going to waste the energy that way. That would be like me eating the rat poison, right? And
right.
expecting him to fall dead. No way. Thank you. I was in an unhappy circumstance and did not know how to extricate myself. I had no authentic partnering. I was carrying my partner and I was tired, and I needed to wake up to the fact that I could walk away and
Mm,
be successful. And Lionel, it makes no sense. It's got to be some past life energy coming through, keeping me in a cage.
mm,
I was pulling more than my fair share in
mm,
most of my relationships with my
mm,
partners, and still feeling like I couldn't survive. And I had to break that understanding. And this gentleman helped me do that. I am
mm,
free. I am free.
right.
I'm so
You know,
lucky.
no, Susan. There is a famous there's a quote. Most people know I'm a reverend, right? So there's a quote in the Bible in Romans chapter 8 verse 8 that says, God causes, can cause, not God causes all things, but can cause things to work out for good. In other words, it's not that God made this happen, but somehow that experience can be turned around and used for good. Somehow, some way, that bad experience can be turned around and used for good. But it's hard to see that, Susan. Like when you're going through when you're going through that, you're not thinking about, man, this is gonna be a great lesson. I'm gonna learn some things. You're I mean, most people are like, I just need to get out of this. I need to run away. I need to get away from this experience. So, you know, it takes a lot of courage. And people need to understand the level of courage it takes to say what you are saying about your experience through someone who literally made your life a living hell, it sounds like to me. I mean,
It was time to step out of it. And I did coach myself. Yes, I was in a rage.
mm,
And I was using tools to release that rage, but I had to, even if I didn't believe it,
mm-hmm,
I had to say, I am grateful for the experience you are delivering. I am grateful for the insight you are delivering. I am grateful for the opportunity you are providing me to
mm,
take my authentic power back and be truly free.
mm,
That is a gift.
mm,
And that's how I had to coach myself, Lionel, through
mm,
that thing and after. And when the anger came up, I sent prayers his way. I sent goodness his way, even when I didn't feel it. I sent that all his way, and you would not believe the miracles that I
Mm.
witnessed. And I didn't do it because I wanted to be a good girl for the treats that God was going to give me if I did it.
All right, now you drop. Okay. All right. Whoa, man. My brain is like, there's so many thoughts coming to mind, right? One, you said a lot. One, you said, I didn't do it for the treats. In other words, I'm laughing because that's what a lot of people do, right? I'm going to get this. It's almost like it's like counter human nature to not want something either bad to happen to the person who made your life a living hell, right? You know, we call it in religious world, we call it vengeance. Vengeance. Let me, that kind of, this person is gonna get this. This is gonna happen to them because of what they did to me. But then you also said that you did not, you didn't allow that to to eat you up internally and make you like pull you outside of who you were wishing and hoping to become while going through that. People can't deal with that, right? People, that's not how people function. What makes you so special here?
Can I just tell you? Can I just tell you? My sister and
Anything.
I were playing. My sister and I were playing with little kittles. They were these little midget dolls, and I didn't want to give her little kittle back. And we had a little votive candle lit on this
Mm.
trunk in the bedroom. And she's like, "Give me my little kittle back." And I'm like, "No, I'm not going to give it back to you." And she shoved my head backwards, and my hair caught on fire. Right?
What?
And yeah, my hair's on fire. And she's like, "Oh my God, your hair's on fire." So I start like drop, tuck, and roll like they show you in elementary school. I'm
Right.
rubbing my
Yeah.
head against
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
carpet. I'm like, "Oh my God, oh my God." Dude, dude, that was the initiation. I am here to
mm.
light people's hair on fire
Mm.
and look at things from a totally different perspective.
Mm. Because there's something to be learned. It's almost like you're transcending when you're able to function in that way. What is it? What do I mean by function? When you're able to not hold people captive by what they've done to you or hurt you. When you're able to get beyond that in a way that you then began to hope good things, because you also said, I didn't, I've sent prayers. I prayed for this person. That's that's another form of, it's like an evolution of human relationship. How do you relate to people? And religiously, I understand what you're saying, right? Because Jesus talked about that, right? So, like, and not just Jesus, like Buddha, a lot of the great spiritual teachers of past and present talked about the power of, I think you're calling it the power of forgiveness, right? Not holding people captive by what they've done to you. Somehow that frees you as well.
Dude,
Um,
because you're not holding them captive.
mm,
You're not holding them captive. You're holding you captive
mm,
to that
mm,
circumstance. Get that
mm,
one. It's a
mm.
hard lesson to get, but man, is that freeing. That is power.
But you, I want them to suffer. I want them to suffer. I want them to understand the level of pain they inflicted on my life. I want them to experience what I experienced. And not only that, I don't want them to do it to someone else, because they're going to prey on someone else and treat other people the same. And they're contributing to the negative experience of human relation. Like the worst part of human nature comes out of these people. I mean,
I
help
I
us.
un- I understand that.
Yeah.
I felt for the next quote unquote victim. I feel like
Mm-hmm.
she and I made some kind of soul contract before we came in, and she stepped in to serve in that role.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, Lionel, we all came in to learn some kind of lessons.
Mm-hmm.
We did. It's everybody's got their path. And
Mm-hmm.
this next woman has her path. And
Right.
guess what? It's not for me to go save and rescue. I
Mm.
mean, yeah, it's painful,
Mm.
but it
So
all has purpose.
right. So you would say then you walk with them through their path, whatever that path may be. I'm just going to walk with you through this path. All right. Wow. Such profound lessons you have learned. You are teaching all of us. Mm. So how are you helping people? Tell us a little bit about as we transition. Tell us about your book. We want to know what that book's about, or at least give a teaser so that those who are interested will want to go and get a copy of that book.
Well, that book is God sent. I just have to say, I did not want to write that book. I was told in 2007 that I had a book to write. It was going to help a lot of people, and I just poo pooed it. I was like, I don't want to go through that for a PR tool. No, thank you. And then I got told twice more. I was told I have 3 books to write, so I thought I better get going before before I have a whole
Mm.
library to write. But um, that book is my personal and professional trajectory, and
Mm.
the story is a true tale, and it's wonderful. But what I really hope that people access is the workbook that's in the appendix of the book, and people are using that workbook. These are actual tools that I used to help find my way, to help find healing, to help find peace, and to help me stay strong, to stand up to what my life was bringing to me. So, yeah, I really encourage people to take advantage of it if they're able.
Yeah, yeah. So for those who are listening, the book by Suzanne Gold is called Toxic Family: Transforming Childhood Trauma into Adult Freedom. So I'm sure you can grab that on Amazon. I think my copy's from, I got it on Amazon. And probably, are you in local bookstores yet? Or maybe
I
like
am,
Barnes
and
and Nobles? Okay.
I'm in Barnes and Noble. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, great. So make sure you guys go and grab that copy. We have a picture of it right here for those of you who are watching this on YouTube. And so I'm sure it will help you. Um, her story, her experiences, Susan's story and experiences will be a benefit to you, right? That's the reason why we write. That's the reason why we share these sort of offerings to make humanity a better place. All right, so Susan, before we go, right? We've been going now for what, I don't know, almost an hour. So I know, right? So before we go, uh, tell us what are some of the other offerings that you have. I know you are a triathlete. There's not a lot of folks on the planet. I don't even know what the percentages are of people who are triathletes in the United States in particular, but I'm sure it's not that many people who actually do that thing like you do, right? Not only that, you are. Do you consider yourself a yogi?
I guess so. Yeah, I have a regular yoga practice. It really helps
Yeah.
me out. Yeah.
And hey, for those listening, Suzanne is a world class swimmer. I said it. So, do you incorporate any of these experiences into your teaching and training and how you work with people?
Yeah, it's absolutely a piece of it. You don't have to be an endurance athlete,
Yeah,
but
it's
but I'll
tough.
just yeah, I just share the
Yeah,
cliff notes. Yeah, and just give you the helpful tips.
yeah, yeah. You know, Susan, I've ran marathon one. Very very tough for me. I'm not a small guy. I'm a pretty big guy. So putting that much pressure on your knees, it's and ankles, it's difficult. But there was something about, man, I mean, going through that running for long, hours on end, there's a lot of evolution internally going through when I first started, like working up to the training process to where you actually now out running. And I found myself in a lot of ways doing running. Like I looked that devil in the face. I don't know how many times. It's like, okay, are you gonna quit now? You're gonna give up? Are you gonna cry because your leg hurts? Well, I mean, what are you gonna do? And I kid you not, every time I started running, when I got to like mile 10, mile 9, my right IT band will start to act up on me every single time. And eventually I learned to push through it because but prior to that lesson, I just stopped because I'm like, I don't want to damage anything, I didn't want to. But I got to a space and place in my life where my body would begin to adjust. And then it would just probably about mile 11 or 12, it'll go away. That's a great metaphor for life. Don't you think? It's like when you're going through the suck, when you're going through the stuff, right? How many people want to quit, right? But if you can push through or have people in your life that can help aid you through that process, you can come out on the other side. And that's what you did. Did you have any of those experiences as an athlete, like where you was like, okay, I'm about to quit, and what was the mental fortitude piece like for you?
Well, I had many, but what I
Mm.
ultimately learned was how to be compassionate
Mm.
to my own being,
Wow.
because I did push through to excess, and
Mm.
I was using that to numb the pain.
Mm.
And again, the universe did for me what I could not do for myself and took it all away from me. I had a
Mm.
serious injury that I had to contend with, and another false persona got stripped away.
Mm.
So it's another story for another podcast, but I think
Right.
that we need to find compassion, and there is merit to pushing through, but there's also merit to finding that balance
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
between caring for your being with
Mm.
respect and
Mm.
pushing through, standing up.
Wow. Rightfully said. So what closes? So man, we walked through a lot, and time goes fast when you're having fun. What are some of the closing thoughts that you would share with our audience? Those who are going through divorce, depression, maybe suicide ideation, maybe in a bad relationship. Uh, what what can you share with them to help them to move through the pain, be more compassionate to the self instead of being compassionate to others? How can you be more compassionate to the self?
Well, first, don't quit before the
Mm.
miracle and hold on to that. Don't quit
Mm.
before the miracle.
Mm.
And then acknowledge, put your hand on your heart and acknowledge that you are doing the very best you can in this moment.
Yeah. Right.
And then
Well.
trust grace is coming, and grace is
Mm.
all around you.
Mm. Well said. Well said, my friend. Well, once again, everyone, this has been a wonderful, wonderful podcast with our very special guest, Suzanne Go. She shared a lot of great nuggets that I am hoping that you would take advantage of. Not only that, Suzanne has shared some resources that could benefit you. You can connect with her through suzannego.us or .us, as she likes to say. And you can also get her book on Amazon and some of the major platforms, even bookstores like Barnes and Noble. You can connect with her there. You can get her stuff, and you can go to her website, Suzanne, your website, let's see. Yeah, there's your website. There it is. Your website is there. You guys can see that if you're watching this on YouTube. You see her website. You can put your information in there. Magic is happening inside. So, boy, I am super excited that you've come by and shared this with us, Suzanne, today. Man, we got to do another podcast. You think you up for it?
I think so. I'd be excited.
Yeah. I would love to have another opportunity to connect with you. So just hold on as I round out with the guests. I'll be right back. Wow, what a great interview with Suzanne Gold. Wow, what did we learn? We learned a lot. We learned a lot about how to get through pressure and pain, how not to hold people captive to how they treated you, as well as understanding that when you release people from the pain that they may have caused in your life, you also free yourself. So to everyone who's out there listening, please make sure you contact Suzanne Gold. Her information is down in the show notes. Here, it'll be on YouTube as well as on Apple, Spotify, and all your major podcast platforms. You can get connected with Suzanne Gold. And hey, I know it will be a benefit to you. And please feel free to reach out to her. I think it'll help your life and make you a better person. Well, thank you guys for listening. Thank you for watching. Words for Change family. I'm excited for everything to come. Keep holding steady, keep the faith, and know that a brighter day is coming. We'll talk to you soon. Peace. Wow, Words for Change family. What a great interview we had with Suzanne Gold. Just a few things I want to give you, a few key takeaways. Number one, if you're going through depression, if you have a relationship that is struggling and that's on the fritz, that is full of trauma and drama, if you will, well, you got to get to a place in your life where you can find the strength to get beyond that, to not let yourself stay in a abusive situation. And then number two, you have to get people around you. You have to get outside of yourself, put away the shame, and know that there are people out there who are willing to help you get to the next stage in life where you can move successfully with support through that hardship. So have a list of people you can connect. And then number three, just know that you can't hold on to unforgiveness because it puts you in a prison. So those are the three takeaways from this interview we've had with Suzanne Gold. What a great interview. Please connect with her. And I think I know actually that she will be a blessing to you. And thank you so much for being a part of our podcast family, the Words for Change podcast family. You can find us on Facebook at Words for Change podcast, as well on YouTube. Follow us on YouTube. We do a live usually on Sundays at 3:00 Pacific Standard Time. Would love to have you come by, share some thoughts, become a part of the community. I know it will help your life. The value it will add is that we bring people who have world-class experiences like Suzanne, world-class athlete, met some very famous people, work with very famous people in our entertainment industry in the United States. We bring these people to you so that you can see that we're all human beings. We all have something in common, and that's shared life experiences. We bring these things to you so that you can find the resources that you need to get to where you want to go. As we've always said, we help people through spiritual growth, personal growth, leading to social change. But nothing changes until you change first. That's the Word for Change motto, and that's what we're all about. So thank you so much for being a part of the community, and stay tuned for more episodes. See you soon. Peace.